I am is the foundation of all creation, the source of all experience, and the essence of all manifestation. It is the power that shapes reality, the invisible force that brings thoughts into form. When one declares, I am in the frequency of money, they align themselves with the infinite supply that is ever present. Reality is not something external. It is the reflection of one's state of being. The world is only mirroring back the frequency one holds within. Money is not outside of oneself, waiting to be obtained. It is a state of consciousness that must be embodied. One does not chase money. One aligns with it by assuming the feeling of already possessing it. The external world is only a projection of the internal world, shaped by belief, feeling, and assumption. Every experience is birthed from the inner conviction that it already is. To embody the frequency of money is to assume without doubt that wealth is one's natural state. It is not about hoping or wishing, but knowing and being. The mind, when fully convinced of its wealth, effortlessly draws money into experience. It does not come through struggle or force, but through natural alignment. The unseen world of consciousness determines all that is seen and experienced. There is no need to seek money as if it were separate. Instead, recognize that all wealth already exists within. By claiming, I am wealthy, the unseen begins shaping the visible. The feeling of wealth must be felt as real before it is seen as real. If one looks outside for validation, they remain bound to the illusion of lack. Money is an energy, and one must match its frequency to experience its abundance. Frequency is determined by thought, feeling, and belief. The mind must accept wealth as natural, effortless, and present. Every time one affirms, I am in the frequency of money, they are conditioning the mind to reflect abundance. It is not about repeating words mindlessly, but about deeply knowing their truth. The world bends to one's inner convictions. It does not resist, it only reflects. When one truly feels wealthy, the world responds accordingly. Every assumption forms the structure of one's reality. If one assumes wealth is difficult to attain, the world will confirm it. If one assumes money flows effortlessly, it will. The universe does not judge. It simply reflects. To change financial reality, one must change their internal state. There is no separation between cause and effect. They are one. The feeling of wealth must be dominant before it can manifest externally. One does not wait for proof to believe. Belief is the proof. Reality always conforms to assumption. When one shifts their inner state, the outer world must follow. The invisible precedes the visible, always. One does not need to analyze how money will come. Faith in its presence is enough. The subconscious mind accepts whatever is impressed upon it, and the external world obeys. When one assumes, I am in the frequency of money, they bypass limitation and align with abundance. The mind is the only limitation, and when it is shifted, so is the external world. There is no struggle in manifestation. Struggle is only a reflection of inner resistance. Money flows where there is no resistance, where belief in its presence is unwavering. The concept of effort in attracting money is an illusion. Money does not come from work, but from alignment. Work is only an avenue through which the assumed wealth materializes, not the source of it. Wealth is not something to pursue. It is something to embody. The mind must accept the presence of money as if it were already a fact. Feeling is the secret to alignment. Without the feeling of wealth, one cannot experience it. Money is drawn to certainty, to the conviction that it already belongs to the one who claims it. There is no lack except in the belief of lack. There is no delay except in the assumption of delay. Reality is instantaneously shaped by the dominant state of being. If one assumes money is always there, it will always be there. There is no force needed, only the unwavering assumption that wealth is natural. The mind naturally seeks validation for what it assumes to be true. If one assumes poverty, they will unconsciously create circumstances that reinforce it. If one assumes wealth, they will see evidence of it everywhere. The world is not random. It is perfectly organized according to belief. The external world does not determine inner reality. Inner reality determines the external world. Money is only a symbol, a reflection of one's dominant state of being. It is not something external to acquire, but something internal to recognize. To be in the frequency of money is to move through life with the knowing that wealth is ever present. The way money manifests is not one's concern. The inner state is all that matters. When the inner state is aligned, the outer must conform. One does not need to seek financial security, for security is a state of being. The need to seek it only reinforces its absence. Instead, one must assume, I am financially secure, and feel it as an undeniable truth. The subconscious does not differentiate between real and imagined. It only reflects what is deeply believed. If one embodies the feeling of already possessing wealth, they will naturally attract experiences that confirm it. The process is effortless because it is simply the unfolding of a predetermined assumption. The only effort required is the persistence in the assumption of wealth. One must dwell in the end result, living mentally in the state where wealth is already an unquestioned reality. There is no need to concern oneself with the how, for the path is revealed naturally. The mind is the cause, and the world is the effect. What one assumes to be true must be reflected back. The habit of thinking wealth is distant only pushes it away. The habit of thinking wealth is already here draws it closer. One must abandon all thoughts of lack, for they only serve to perpetuate limitation. Every moment spent in the awareness of wealth strengthens its presence. Every moment spent in the awareness of lack strengthens its absence. One must be vigilant with thought, for thought is the architect of reality. The greatest secret is the realization that one is already what they seek. There is no need to become wealthy, only to realize that wealth is already inherent. The I am is the source of all creation, the foundation of all experience. When one claims I am in the frequency of money, they step into a world where wealth is not a possibility, but an inevitability. The world reshapes itself to match inner conviction. Money is never the goal. Alignment is. When one aligns, money follows effortlessly. The assumption of wealth is the only work required. It is not about forcing wealth to appear. It is about knowing it is already present. The truth is simple. What one assumes, they become. What one believes, they experience. What one expects, they receive. The world does not happen to anyone. It happens through them. Wealth is not something that must be earned, but something that must be accepted. The reality of money is not separate from the one experiencing it. It is a reflection of them. When one declares, I am in the frequency of money, they are shifting their world. The old conditions no longer matter, for the present assumption creates the future experience. The moment one fully accepts their wealth, their world transforms to reflect it. There is nothing to chase, nothing to strive for, only something to be. I am is the key to all creation. To be wealthy, one must first assume they already are. When one steps into the awareness that I am in the frequency of money, they claim their divine right to abundance. There is no separation between them and wealth, for all things exist within. Money is not an object to be pursued. It is an extension of consciousness. The belief that it is outside of oneself is the only barrier to experiencing its flow. The moment one dissolves this illusion, they step into the effortless reality where wealth is as natural as breathing. The external world does not dictate what is possible. Only one's internal assumption does. If one can assume it, feel it, and know it as true, it must become their reality. This is not philosophy. This is law. It is not about wishing for money. It is about assuming its presence now. One does not beg for what they already have. They simply acknowledge its existence. The feeling of already being in possession of money must become dominant. There is no lack except in the belief in lack. There is no waiting except in the assumption of waiting. Reality moves as swiftly as one's conviction allows. When one declares, "I am in the frequency of money," the doors of abundance swing open effortlessly. To be in the frequency of money is to embody a deep sense of security and ease. It is to move through life knowing that wealth is ever present, requiring no effort to obtain. There is no need to struggle, for struggle is a state of mind that repels abundance. Those who are truly wealthy are not in a constant chase. They reside in a state of expectancy. The feeling of already having is the magnet that draws financial prosperity. The subconscious does not respond to effort. It responds to conviction. If one assumes money flows easily, it must. If one assumes it is hard to obtain, it will be. There is no judgment in manifestation, only reflection. When one shifts their internal state, the entire world shifts in response. The doors that once seemed closed open effortlessly. The opportunities that seemed unavailable suddenly appear. Money follows the one who is certain of its presence. The mind that is free of doubt becomes a channel through which infinite supply flows. It is not enough to affirm abundance if the feeling of lack still lingers within. Words are only powerful when they are backed by unwavering belief. The subconscious does not hear what is spoken. It responds to what is deeply felt. If one says, "I am in the frequency of money," yet internally feels scarcity, the assumption of lack will prevail. Feeling is the key that unlocks manifestation. The one who feels rich will experience richness. The one who feels poor will experience poverty. There is no other determining factor except one's own dominant state of being. One must live from the end, from the awareness that wealth is already theirs. This is not about visualization alone. It is about assumption. When one assumes they are already in possession of wealth, they move differently, think differently, and radiate a different energy. Money is drawn to this certainty. The external world is forced to conform. To truly embody wealth, one must remove all inner contradictions. There can be no conflict in the mind. One cannot affirm wealth while secretly fearing bills, doubting opportunities, or worrying about financial loss. These contradictory thoughts create resistance, keeping abundance at bay. One must decide. Either they are wealthy or they are not. The moment they fully accept their wealth, they become it. There is no halfway alignment. One must be fully convinced. When one assumes they are in the frequency of money, they no longer think in terms of lack. They no longer question if money will come. They know it already has. They do not worry about financial security, for they are the embodiment of wealth itself. The feeling of financial ease must dominate every thought, every action, and every expectation. There is no need to convince the outside world. The inner conviction is enough. The world will always reflect back what is assumed to be true. If one sees evidence of lack, it is only because they are still assuming it on some level. The moment one shifts their assumption, the evidence must change. The external world is never first. It is always second to one's internal state. Wealth does not come from external circumstances. It comes from the mind that assumes it. One must release all focus on what currently exists and dwell entirely in the reality of financial abundance. When one assumes, I am in the frequency of money, and they must live as if it were an unquestionable fact, the mind does not need permission to create, it is always creating. The only question is, what is it creating? If it creates from the awareness of wealth, wealth appears. If it creates from the awareness of lack, lack appears. This is not chance. This is law. One cannot serve two masters. They cannot be wealthy and entertain thoughts of poverty. Every thought, every feeling, and every assumption must align with the reality they desire. The moment one feels themselves slipping into doubt, they must immediately return to the knowing of their wealth. The assumption of financial abundance must become natural, effortless, and automatic. If one remains persistent in this state, the external world will inevitably conform. Money is not something that must be obtained. It is something that is already present. One's awareness of it is the only determining factor. The one who sees money everywhere experiences it everywhere. The one who sees lack experiences lack. This is why assumption is everything. One's dominant state of being dictates their financial reality. To remain in the frequency of money, one must make it their home. It cannot be something they visit occasionally. It must be their permanent state. The feeling of already being financially free must be so ingrained that it no longer requires effort. The moment one stops questioning if or when and fully accepts that they are already wealthy, their reality shifts. This is not magic. This is the natural movement of consciousness. The universe does not delay, does not deny, it only responds. The delay is only in one's own hesitation, their own inner contradictions. The moment one removes all doubt, the manifestation is instant. If one can fully assume wealth right now, they will see it reflected almost immediately. There is no gap in creation. The only gap is in belief. Money is energy, responding to the consciousness that aligns with it. The more one embodies the feeling of financial freedom, the more naturally money flows. There is no effort involved. There is only alignment. The moment one stops trying to make it happen and instead assumes it already has, they unlock limitless abundance. This is the power of I am. Whatever one declares themselves to be, they must become. There is no external force stopping wealth from appearing. There is only the inner state that must be adjusted. When one fully embodies the frequency of money, they no longer worry, doubt, or struggle. They live in the certainty that wealth is already theirs, and the universe mirrors this truth effortlessly. The shift happens the moment one truly believes. It is not about hoping, waiting, or working harder. It is about knowing. When one declares, I am in the frequency of money, and fully accepts it, their entire world changes. They begin to see evidence of wealth everywhere. Money flows in unexpected ways. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. Resources align with their needs effortlessly. This is not coincidence. This is law. The universe is infinitely abundant, and the only requirement to receive is to assume the state of the receiver. One must let go of old beliefs, release all ideas of struggle, and step into the knowing that wealth is their birthright. There is nothing outside of oneself that can create wealth, only the internal assumption of it. The moment one shifts internally, the external world must shift to match. There is no need to force, no need to chase, only to be. Wealth is not something to pursue. It is something to embody. The truth is simple. Whatever one assumes, they become. Whatever they believe, they experience. Whatever they expect, they receive. There is no separation between oneself and money. There is only the awareness of its presence. When one truly knows this, wealth flows effortlessly. The secret has always been within. There is nothing to do, only something to be. I am in the frequency of money, and because I am, it is.